because those three men were still there on their bike like for around 5 minutes and still looking in my direction, still asking the same question with this strained, teasing smile on their face, like they were. It's 3 a.m. right now, like really. Yes, it's 3 a.m. right now. And I was not actually planning to record this, but the more I keep replaying the moments in my head, the more I feel like maybe I should actually say it out loud, especially because most of the people who watch my videos are men. And sometimes there are small moments that women experience that are very difficult to explain unless you actually walk through that situation slowly and to understand the way it feels from inside in that moment. So today in the afternoon, my mom had asked me and my brother to go out and buy something from a nearby shop. And the area where we live has a very small shop around the street. So my brother went downstairs first and told me that he would quickly, check if the item was available in the nearby shop and that I should just come down whenever I was ready. So he left first and I came down maybe after 5 minutes later. And the moment I stepped out of, outside of my building and closed the main door behind me, I remember doing something very normal, like something people do without even thinking. I took out my phone and looked at the screen to see if my brother has called me or messaged me to tell me like where he exactly was waiting. So I was standing there for just few seconds looking at my phone, and then I looked up and started walking slowly down the street to see if I could spot him somewhere like nearby. And I had barely walked a few meters away from the building when suddenly a bike passed by me, and there were three men sitting on it. And as they crossed me, they slowed down, and then they stopped their bike a little ahead, turned their head around to look at me, and all three of them started asking me the same thing again and again. Like they said it in Hindi, like kya hua, where are you going, like kahan ja rahi ho tum. In English it would be like what happened, where are you going. And I was like, what are you asking? Do we know each other? And then the strange thing was that nothing had happened. I was just walking on the street like any normal day. So for a second, I felt really confused because I kept thinking in my head, like, what do you mean? What happened? Nothing had happened. So why are you asking me? So I ignored them, like literally ignored them, and tried to focus on calling my brother instead. Because I thought maybe if I could just, talk to him quickly, I could find where he was and walk there. But when I unlocked my phone, I tried to make a call, I realized that something extremely frustrating in that moment. My phone was not recharged, which meant like I couldn't even make a call. And suddenly the situation started feeling a little more uncomfortable because those three men were still there on their bike like for around 5 minutes and still looking in my direction, still asking the same question with this strained, teasing smile on their face, like they were not actually concerned about anything. They were just enjoying the fact they had stopped and gotten my attention. That's when I noticed two other men standing near like another bike a little distance away, probably around maybe they would be 25 or 26-year old, and they were looking in my direction and they were laughing. Like literally laughing. So now maybe they were laughing about something completely different, unrelated to what was going out there, or like maybe they were just having their own conversation, but in that moment it felt like nobody around me was really taking the situation seriously. Ignore if I'm making mistakes because my mind is not in the place right now. And the moments like that are really strange because your mind starts running in many directions at once. Part of you wants to turn around and go back home, another part of you wants to keep walking like nothing is happening, and then another part of you is trying to figure out whether you are actually in like danger or whether you are just overthinking the situation. But then something happened that even I don't completely understand. Because normally I'm not physically strong. Like, I have a lot of health issues and I'm actually quite thin, and I'm not a kind of person who would confront someone physically. But in that moment, I suddenly stopped looking at my phone, closed it because I knew I couldn't do anything with this thing, put my hand down and looked directly at those three men, and instead of stepping away or stepping back, I started walking forward. Okay, so the moment I did that, they asked one last time again in that same teasing tone, like, "Kya hua? Kahan ja rahi ho?" Like in English, like, "What happened? Where are you going?" And then they suddenly started their bike and drove past me, like, मेरे से आगे चले गए. After that, I walked past those two men who had been, like, standing there and laughing. And I remember looking at them singing something like that honestly made my blood boil. Like, which was something like this, like, what if the person standing here right now was your sister or your mother? Would you still stand there watching and laughing like this? Like, this is exactly what my mind went through. Eventually, I found my brother and told him like what had happened, and he immediately became really angry and started looking around trying to find those men. But by the time they were already gone. Okay, so when we were walking back towards our building later, I saw another group of men standing somewhere and laughing. And even though they were probably laughing about something completely unrelated, my mind immediately started questioning everything. Are they laughing at me? Are they looking at me? Are they talking about me? And that's when I realized something important, which is in that moment like this, like, this doesn't just end with when the situation ends. They stay in your mind and they change the way you walk on the street afterwards. And just to say this clearly, because I know how people sometimes think, I was wearing this simple yellow t shirt and a loose pajama, which is full pajama, okay, not shorts, full pajama. Nothing revealing, it was nothing unusual. It's like you can say it's a normal cloth. But honestly, even that explanation shouldn't be actually necessary. And the reason I'm saying all of this is not to create fear or trauma, but simply to say something to men who are watching me, who might be watching this video, okay? If you ever see a situation where a woman looks uncomfortable, or if you ever, like, sense that she is confused around a group of men, please don't just stand there watching or laughing. Because like, even a small action like saying or asking, "Is everything okay?" or simply standing nearby can completely change how safe someone feels. Like, seriously, I'm being serious. If those two men who were standing there and laughing, if they had just, said anything, like anything to those people who were like on their bike for almost 10 minutes, I would have felt a little safer. But what can I say? Because sometimes, creating a safe environment doesn't require some heroic act. I hope you understand this line. I will repeat again. Because sometimes creating a safe environment doesn't require some heroic act. Sometimes it's simply about not ignoring what is happening right in front of you. So that's all I wanted to say. And I cannot sleep. I cannot sleep because this keeps replaying in my head, because this happened right in front of my house. And that too in daytime. I wonder what those men will actually do in nighttime. Like, seriously, this is concerning. How things are going on in this world. So yeah, that's it. Bye.